Governor Pritzker, what's your response to Secretary Noem? And as a practical matter, since you oppose this troop deployment, is there anything you can do?
Well, good morning, Jake. And let me just say that the secretary doesn't know what she's talking about. She frankly says that people are clapping. They're not. They're booing her on the street, and they're booing ICE and CBP. They're marching, the CBP marching on a beautiful Sunday in Michigan Avenue in downtown Chicago. They're raiding neighborhoods where instead of going after the bad guys, they're just picking up people who are brown and black and then checking their credentials. Are you a U.S. citizen? I don't know about you, but I don't carry around papers that say I'm a U.S. citizen. So you can imagine people are getting detained. They're getting arrested, U.S. citizens. And they did this, of course, when they raided a building in the middle of the night in South Shore. 130 people that were emptied out of this building. They were going after a few gang members, and instead they broke windows, they broke down doors, they ransacked the place, and there were people that were held, elderly people and children zip-tied. Elderly people held for 3 hours at a time. They are the ones that are making it a war zone. They need to get out of Chicago. If they're not going to focus on the worst of the worst, which is what the president said they were going to do, they need to get the heck out.
So let's talk about that. The federal agents this week carrying out this massive nighttime raid on this apartment complex in Chicago. Reportedly, they used drones, helicopters, military-style vehicles. A Border Patrol officer told the New York Times that snipers rappelled down to the roof of the building during the raid from a helicopter. What more can you tell us about this raid?
Well, let me also mention that the Border Patrol shouldn't be there either. They're claiming that the shores of Lake Michigan are the border of the United States, and therefore they should be in Chicago. They belong on the borders, truly on the borders, and where there may be some mayhem that they need to deal with, but it's not in the city of Chicago. What happened at that building is shameful. Our Department of Children and Family Services are investigating what happened to those children who were zip-tied and held, some of them nearly naked, in the middle of the night. And again, elderly people being thrown into a U-Haul for 3 hours and detained U.S. citizens. What kind of a country are we living in? And this raid at this building is emblematic of what ICE and CBP and the President of the United States, Kristi Noem and Greg Bovino, are trying to do. They want mayhem on the ground. They want to create the war zone so that they can send in even more troops. Now they're claiming they need 300 of Illinois' National Guard. Well, we didn't need them before they showed up. And what they ought to do is allow us to work with FBI, ATF, DEA, who are civilian law enforcement and understand how to target and take out the bad guys.
DHS says that CBP officers shot and wounded a woman in Chicago yesterday after, they say, she allegedly rammed a law enforcement vehicle, and agents were boxed in by multiple cars. The spokesperson for DHS, Tricia McLaughlin, accused Chicago police of leaving the scene and refusing to assist agents in securing the area. What do you know about this incident? Were federal agents boxed in and assaulted?
Well, we don't have a lot of facts. What happens in these sorts of incidents is typically ICE puts out a press release before anybody else can speak with the press, and then it gets reported on social media and elsewhere. Remember, these are the same folks who killed a person, unarmed person, just a couple of weeks ago in Franklin Park. At first, they said that the officer had been threatened with his life. The reality of it and the truth of it has now come out, and that wasn't the case. They killed somebody. So here, it's really hard to know exactly what the facts are, and they won't let us access the facts. They are just putting out their propaganda, and then we've got to later determine what actually happened.
Trump is also trying to deploy the National Guard to Portland, Oregon, after a federal judge there, appointed by Trump, I should note, temporarily blocked that effort. Top White House advisor Stephen Miller blasted that ruling as, quote, legal insurrection and said, quote, the deployment of troops is an absolute necessity to defend our personnel, our laws, our government, public order, and the republic itself. What did you think when you saw that statement from Stephen Miller?
Well, let's back up and remember this judge is a Trump-appointed judge. This judge actually said what I think should be said about all of what Donald Trump is doing, which is it's untethered from the facts. That's what the judge said, that what the government is doing, what Trump is doing is untethered from the facts. That's the case. He was claiming that it's mayhem on the on the streets of Portland. He's saying that, Chicago is a war zone. None of that is true. They're just making this up. And then what do? They fire tear gas and smoke grenades, and they make it look like it's a war zone. And they, get people on the ground are frankly incited to want to do something about it appropriately. I mean, if you are on the ground and you're having tear gas pellets fired at you, as they have been doing in Broadview, Illinois, you want to react. You want something to happen. And unfortunately, they're using every lever at their disposal to keep us from maintaining order.
To break it all down is Illinois Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton. She is a candidate for U.S. Senate. Lieutenant Governor, thanks for joining us this morning. I want to ask you about your governor's post on X, that he was not given a choice. What are the forms of recourse, specifically legal recourse, that you are taking right now to try to protect the city against the National Guard?
Well, first of all, the governor has made it very clear, and I do want to emphasize that we have a governor who is the commander-in-chief in the state of Illinois, and it's absolutely unacceptable and inappropriate that the president would say, here is an ultimatum for you as the commander-in-chief of the state of Illinois. So we will do, as we've said we would always do, we will do everything that we can to protect our people and use every tool at our disposal. We certainly will work closely with our Attorney General, Kwame Raoul, to see what legal recourse is available. But look, this is another example of Donald Trump trying to normalize the presence of the military on American soil. They use this term, the enemy within, and this is unconscionable. It is, quite frankly, illegal and unconstitutional, and we will fight back with everything that we have to make sure that we can protect the constitutional rights of the people that we represent.
Have you taken steps, though, to file some sort of temporary restraining order in the vein of what we've seen happen in Portland, where a judge actually has temporarily blocked use of the National Guard?
Well, we were grateful to see the decision that came out of Portland, and I think it just supports what we've always said, that this is illegal and unconstitutional and an overreach by this president, quite frankly. We are working with our Attorney General, who will, certainly make clear whatever legal action will be taken next, but we are looking at every single tool that's at our disposal.
Lieutenant Governor, I think there are a lot of people watching who see that yesterday afternoon, J.B. Pritzker, your governor, tweets out that he got a message from the White House about this. So sometime on Saturday, I guess, why was there not a lawsuit ready? There's been weeks of Chicago being kind of warned, I guess, from the Trump administration that something like this would be happening. We saw what happened in L.A. with the Marines and what one of the judges said there that was struck down. But still, the question of, and I've talked to folks in Chicago about being prepared as soon as something is happening, right? So you're not caught back on your left foot. Why was there not a lawsuit already ready to file as soon as this actually came down?
Well, you can't file a preemptive lawsuit. I mean,
no, but you can get the stuff prepared to file the lawsuit as soon as the order comes through, you can do it.
Well, I mean, remember, this is not an administration that is communicating with our administration. The Trump administration is not coordinating. We have been on the front lines. I mean, as you can imagine, our Attorney General has filed case after case after case. There's litigation that's ongoing. We are speaking out very clearly. We have coordinated as leaders here in Illinois. We came together and said this is not something that we want. But Donald Trump is determined to sow chaos. Look at what we're seeing happening. Illinoisans are being ripped from their families. We've seen children and women being zip tied in the streets. So we are responding as quickly as we can to everything that is happening. And it doesn't mean that they're not already preparing and being anticipating. Of course, we've anticipated this because this is Donald Trump's playbook. He first wants to say, I need to get into Illinois and to the city of Chicago for aggressive ICE enforcement. And then when people react to it, we knew the playbook that he would then say, okay, well, now, look, there's chaos, and so I have to federalize the troops. But remember, he said he was coming, and then he said he wasn't coming, and then I'm going to Portland, and then I'm going to Memphis. This is a president that does not lead with any level of stability. He's not normal as a president, and he's not a normal person. And so we have to respond to the best of our ability based upon the actions that are taken.
Lieutenant Governor Stratton, I'm sorry, like melding two very big jobs. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem was on Fox News earlier today and was asked about the situation in Chicago, and particularly comments made by Chicago Mayor Johnson. Listen to what she had to say about the mayor.
He's giving them air cover so they can go out and keep committing crimes. It's wrong. There should be consequences for that and for leaders that stand up and knowingly lie about the situation on the ground. This is a war zone. His city is a war zone, and he's lying so that criminals can go in there and destroy people's lives.
Lieutenant Governor Stratton, your reaction to that?
Well, first of all, the fact that she would even dare refer to an American city as a war zone. I mean, this is all language that is continuing this idea that, we have to send military troops. We want that to be normalized. And we have made it very clear. We do not want you here.
The people of Chicago do not want Donald Trump. They do not want him there. And that goes for local officials. They're saying that the local police got this. They don't need you here, Donald. Local officials in Illinois don't need you. And so that's what the government is saying. The people that oversee law enforcement in the city, the mayor and the governor, and I think Pritzker I think he's running for president. I think everyone's focusing on Newsom. And I get why he's getting a lot of attention, but I think Pritzker is also running, let's be clear. And I think in some ways he's been more effective at stymieing Trump in a lot of ways. But put that aside, you're seeing it, these local officials, and you're seeing it from the people. It's not just the mayor of Chicago and the governor of Illinois. It's like there's massive protests in the city saying that we trust our local officials. As much as they're not perfect, we trust them. We elected these local officials to oversee Chicago police and other and statewide enforcement. We do not need the National Guard here. We don't. Again, if you want to address rampant criminality, Donald, where it's getting worse, go to red states and go to Wall Street. Go to the boardrooms of all the companies, the biggest companies. Go to your donor list. You want to stop rampant corruption? Go to the meeting rooms at Mar-a-Lago and Trump Tower. That's where you could send the National Guard to stop crime. The people of Chicago, the police of Chicago, the mayor of Chicago, the governor of Illinois, they do not need you there. They don't. There are moments where states need help from the National Guard. Often like things like natural disasters and whatnot. If there's a literal mass attack, they will call you. And yes, you should give aid. But what we've seen from Trump is that at times, when they've called for aid, Trump has often denied it to blue states based on the fact that they didn't vote for him. So this man doesn't actually care about protecting blue cities. He just wants to make them afraid.